Hi everybody, welcome to Charlie's Spot. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, the Midwest. Today, I'm gonna pay homage to my roots. I'm gonna make meatloaf, mashed potatoes and gravy, and roasted corn. So grab a beer, grab a glass of wine, sit down, hang out with me for a little while, and we'll cook some comfort food. So welcome back. As I said earlier, today I'm making meatloaf. You know, I'm from the Midwest. Meatloaf in the Midwest is king. So what I'm going to do first is I've got about a cup of onion. I've got about 2.5 pounds of ground beef, by the way. And I've got a cup of onion. I'm going to throw that in. Diced, small dice. And I have about 3/4 of a cup of diced green pepper. I'm going to throw that in. And I've got a little seasoning that I put together that is salt, pepper, Lawry's, and a little ground mustard. So we're going to throw in a couple teaspoons of that. And then I have some ground mustard. I'm going to throw that in and give it a little zing. I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of ground mustard. And then what I'm going to add is a little beer. Beer makes everything better, as does bacon. So I'm gonna walk over to my kegerator there, pour some beer, and I'll be back. We'll add that. All right, so I have a nice lager here. We're gonna add a little bit of that, probably about a 1/4 cup. 2 eggs. And you always want to crack the eggs on a flat surface. And then to kind of hold it all together, some panko, which is basically Japanese breadcrumbs. So we're going to probably throw in about 1/2 cup of that. And then, best tools we have, we're going to mix it all up. So you want to incorporate all the ingredients, but you don't want to overmix. A lot of people put their meatloaf in mixers. That toughens the meat up. You don't want to do that. You want to use your hands. So earlier, I added some beer to my meatloaf, but you can add a nice white wine, a sherry, a masala. You can add a red wine, a cab or merlot. Each of those will add a different dimension of flavor to your meatloaf. So give it a try. It really is flavorful. And the tannins and things in the wines are actually good for you. They're heart smart. So give it a shot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer our meat mixture into our pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to form it into a loaf, hence meatloaf. You don't want it too thick and too high because you don't want it to not be done in the middle. So, as you can see here, I've got a nice sized loaf, and look at the colors that are in there. Look at the textures. And don't worry about putting the raw vegetables in, because through the cooking process, they'll become nice and moist and they'll blend right into the meatloaf. So, now I'm going to add a couple extra ingredients, things that I love, my kids love. I'm going to put a little ketchup on the top, and then I'm going to cover it in bacon. All right, so as I said earlier, ketchup and bacon. Ketchup and bacon are king, particularly at my house. My little ones, Riley and Sarah, hi girls, Daddy loves you. Love ketchup. So I'm going to cover this in ketchup, and it'll do 2 things. It'll add some flavor, and it'll also keep it moist. And you can put on as much as you want. You know, the girls love ketchup, so we'll put on quite a bit for them. Okay, So we're done with that, and now we're gonna add our bacon. And what I have here is a nice thick cut bacon. I love bacon. I don't know too many chefs that don't. So we're gonna cover our meatloaf in bacon. This is not for those that are watching their weight or are vegetarians, obviously. It's not a turkey meat or a vegetarian meatloaf. Not made with a soy product. I'm using beef and pork. But in my house, bacon is king. And a great texture as well because it's going to be crunchy. So, there we are. There's our bacon wrapped meatloaf. I've wrapped our meatloaf in bacon. There's ketchup on there. What's not to like about that, right? It's delicious. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. I'll get the bacon nice and crispy. The meatloaf will be fully cooked. And then we'll start on our potatoes. Okay, so what I've done is I've peeled about 4 or 5, I believe 5, russet potatoes. And earlier we diced an onion for our meatloaf. Well, I reserved a quarter of that onion for the potatoes. And I've also added 2 cloves of garlic. So we're gonna get this boiling. I've added also 2 teaspoons of salt. I like salty potatoes. And this will take about 20 minutes. And this is a great base for our mashed potatoes. All right, so what I've done is I have some corn, some red pepper, some onion, some butter, and next I'm gonna season it with a little sea salt and some cracked pepper. And this is so good. And as always, you know, I love to cook with wine and beer. I'm gonna throw a little Chardonnay in there. It's can add a really nice dimension to that. All right, so I'm gonna remove this from the heat because I'm gonna add a little white wine. I don't want to set myself on fire again. Just kidding. I haven't done that yet. So we'll give this a quick little stir. We'll get that going. I've got the fire going. And our potatoes are ready. So our next step is to mash our potatoes. Okay, so what I've done is I've mashed our potatoes, our onions, our garlic. I've added some bacon, as you can see. And now I'm about to add some cheddar cheese. And let's just go all in. Go big or go home, right? So we'll mix that up. And the cheese will help thicken up the potatoes because there's quite a bit of moisture in there from the cream. And oh boy, that's already looking really, really good. Now if you can get a look at that. And because the potatoes are still piping hot, as was the butter, as was the cream, the cheddar cheese is melting nicely. So that's really stiffening up. And then what I'm going to add, a lot of people add white pepper because they don't really want to see the black pepper, but I like the pepper flavor from the black pepper better than the white pepper. Say that 5 times fast. So I'm going to add some black pepper and we'll give that a quick stir. Bad boys are done. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start on our gravy. So what I've done is I've added about a teaspoon of salt. But between the cheddar cheese and the bacon, those of you that are trying to enjoy a low sodium diet may want to stay away from the salt. There's enough salt in there, but for me personally, I like a little more salt. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm making a roux for our gravy. And all a roux is a fat and flour. It could be olive oil, it could be vegetable oil, it could be butter, which is what I'm using here. Because again, I am from the Midwest. This is a Midwestern staple. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. So, I've got our beef stock going for our gravy. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add our roux. You want to add a little bit of this at a time. And this is going to thicken up the gravy. So the roux is going to give it a nice, it's going to make it nice and thick. You know, so you get that nice gravy consistency. All right, so next I'm going to add for our gravy, I'm gonna add 1 bay leaf, pinch of thyme. I'm gonna add a little red wine. So we'll give this a quick stir, and we'll let that go for a little while. It smells so good, you're almost done. I'm gonna check on our meatloaf, and depending on where it's at, we'll be ready to plate this thing. Oh my goodness, wait, look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? So, all of our components are done. Now it's time to plate it. So I've got my meatloaf here with the bacon, which is delicious. We'll see how this slices. It might not slice that well with the bacon. I don't know about you, but I like meatloaf and I love bacon, so I like really, really thick slices. All right, so now I'm gonna plate it. We're done. We're ready to eat. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna get my mashed potatoes. Oh, those look so good. I'm gonna get my corn, onions, and red peppers. Throw that right there. Take a piece of my meatloaf. Take that right there, and then I'm gonna top it all off with our gravy. All right, so there we have it. Bacon wrapped meatloaf, mashed potatoes and gravy, and delicious corn with onions and red pepper. Thanks for stopping by my kitchen. Now I'm gonna dig in. I haven't eaten yet today. I'm starving. I hope you enjoy this meal. If you have any questions, please email me at charlesdavid123@yahoo.com. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.